Is longevity and health on your mind? Have you been doing whatever it is that you need to do to get your body as healthy as possible so that you have the energy, focus, and attention to fully enjoy your life and fulfill? Then I really want you to tune in and listen to this episode because I'm going to share with you why hypnosis should be a non negotiable part of your well being planning from here out. Hey, everybody, Penny here, and I just wrapped up another 7-day intensive hypnosis certification training. And I was talking to the students one day. We were talking about hypnosis and health and healing, and how the hypnosis that I teach applies in that scenario. And hypnosis applies in multiple ways. And basically, what I told the student is it depends on the outcome you are seeking as to how it applies. But hypnosis absolutely should be a part of your daily routine. And we're going to start with that first. It should be an absolute non negotiable every day, because when you use hypnosis, you're doing a few things. One, when you take the mind into that hypnotic state and your brainwave oscillations hit theta and they go into deep theta, you are activating your parasympathetic nervous system, which means you are turning down or shutting down your sympathetic, your fight or flight. You are toning down the cortisol release and all of the things that promote inflammation in the body, high blood pressure. It's the whole stress response. You turn that down. When we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the way we're supposed to live, by the way, we should mostly be in our parasympathetic response. Okay? That's where we should be. We should only be in fight or flight if we're surviving, right? Modern society has put us under so much pressure, so many false deadlines, so many things that make us feel pushed and pressured to get things done. So when we can shift our body into that parasympathetic nervous system, we influence the epigenetics of our cells. So, we have DNA, the DNA has genes, but not all genes are black and white in terms of you express those genes or you don't. So think about brown hair. Do you have blue eyes? Do you have brown eyes? Those things are fixed, but there are a lot of genes that switch on and off. I think I've used this analogy before, but if you know what a breaker box is in your home and you have all the switches that turn the power on or off to certain rooms of your house, certain outlets, certain light switches, certain appliances, think of epigenetics as those breakers flipping back and forth. So when our bodies get into certain states of stress, when the brain is in stress and it influences the body, and then the plasma in the body, the fluid that's bathing the cells, impacts the environment inside of the cells, and those cells get stressed, we experience what's called oxidative or cellular stress. And when we have that cellular stress, these switches can flip on and off. The beauty is that those switches don't have to stay permanently switched. Now, they're meant to be a short-term coping mechanism, but In the last episode, I was talking about how we can have those little misperceptions and we may develop a behavior that was appropriate and worked for us in the moment. But then as we got older, it's not very helpful for where we want to go. The same thing happens inside of the cell. The cell can adapt to the environment it's in, and for the short term, it's okay. But then over long term, we start to develop chronic symptoms in disease and aging. When we can use hypnosis to train our bodies to be in this parasympathetic state, to activate this state, and to also anchor it in, then we can basically use a Pavlovian or classical conditioning response, an anchor, to activate that parasympathetic nervous system response at will. And you might think I'm crazy when I say that. There's a little bit of an exercise that goes with it. But when I first learned about this, I thought, my hypnosis instructor is crazy. But he was a nurse anesthetist and he was a retired nurse anesthetist. So I thought to myself, let me try this and see if it works. And within 2 weeks, I had conditioned my brain that all I had to do was activate this anchor, and I could literally feel the relaxation response engage in my body. And I taught it to all of my clients that I was using classical hypnosis with or working with in pain management. Now, the other thing about using hypnosis daily is through that hypnosis, you can set your intentions subconsciously around the beliefs you want, around how fit your body is, how you eat, how you perceive the world, your perception of the world, to not let things stress you out as much in terms of external stressors. Now, that self-hypnosis could look like one of two things. It could be something where you are using visualization, or it could be what I do, which is something called recognitions, where I use a gentle clearing hypnosis that will clear out anything that's been building up from emotional situations, tense situations, conversations, what's happening on the news, or old things that all of a sudden bubble to the surface. It clears those things out and immediately reprograms in a healthier state of mind. Now, if you are actively dealing with health issues, there's a specific way that you can use hypnosis to help reprogram your mind to move into a healing state, like you're commanding your mind to actively begin to heal and shift your body. But the secret is it has to be as if you're already healed. You're not programming. So this is one of the things when I think about people who pray, I don't like to tell people how to do things that they should do, but when I see people talk about how pray that God removes the cancer from my body, that doesn't work. And it doesn't work in hypnosis either. God can't remove cancer from your body unless there's cancer in your body. And the same thing with hypnosis. We can't tell our brain to heal us of cancer unless cancer's already there. We command our brain to keep our body healthy and our immune system in a high functioning state, and that we have healthy cellular metabolism, because cancer is a metabolic disease. So the way you word those things is important. But when you are commanding your mind to heal, you want to do hypnosis multiple times per day, every single day. And you're going to do it for a period of time, because when you begin to see your body shift, when these cells begin to correct the epigenetic switches that have been flipped, when they switch into a healing state, they don't all do it at once. They do it at whatever pace that they do it. But then when the cells in the body divide every 12 days, like platelets in our blood. They only last 12 days. Blood cells last a little bit longer. We're constantly making new blood cells, our muscle cells, our cardiac cells, our skin cells, all of these things, they reproduce at a different rate. So we stay at the hypnosis consistently multiple times per day, every single day, and you will notice that in days, weeks, and months, you can completely shift the cells in your body. Now, I'm not saying be completely healed. I'm saying that your body replaces itself every few months to every few years, depending on which cells you're looking at. And if you're flipping these switches in certain body systems, certain cell groups, as you begin to make this shift, and then those cells divide, and now you have more of the healthier cells and less of the disease cells, and this process continues, you shift your body. I know a couple of different people who had some issues that they were dealing with that the doctors couldn't figure out why. And they're like, we don't know why this is happening, but you're going to have to live with it the rest of your life. They began working through things, creating stress in their life subconsciously, and using self hypnosis in this way, and basically telling their brain how they want their brain to create an environment so that the body can heal itself to the greatest degree possible, because hypnosis doesn't heal anything. The body heals itself. Hypnosis helps to create the environment for the brain to function optimally to heal the body. The body already knows how to heal itself. The thing is, we get in its way through stress, through the things that we bring into our body, through the schedules that we keep, through lack of sleep, all of those things. There are documented reports of so many different things that hypnosis has improved and helped people overcome. And I'll be the first one to tell you, as a healthcare professional, there's not enough randomized controlled trials on some of these things, or even controlled trials. Forget randomized, not even enough controlled trials, because of the time and expense involved in doing hypnosis studies. But I can tell you, there are anecdotal reports out there across all issues that people deal with, and many of them are by doctors and physicians, mind you, because can't just anybody publish a case report in a journal, especially when it's a peer-reviewed journal. You have to be a part of that peer community to make that happen. I had someone say to me once, oh, it's nice that you say that. You can't use that in medicine case reports or whatever. Well, hospitals don't use hypnosis, and hospitals don't use hypnosis because it takes time, which means the personnel that is engaged in providing that hypnosis is not able to provide services to other people. It is a time-intensive process that, in most cases, when you're talking healing and these kinds of things, allowing the body to enter a state where it can optimize its own healing, it takes repetition. It takes repetition, and you don't make money like that. That's all I'm going to say about that. The third way that hypnosis works in helping you with your longevity: people carry around so much emotion in their body. I remember as a kid growing up, I was taught forgive and forget. Forgive and forget. However, most of us don't know how to get true forgiveness. So what do? We end up talking ourselves out of thinking about it. We end up carrying the frustration, the irritation, the annoyances, the resentment, and the anger in the subconscious. When I first became a hypnotist, I really didn't understand human nature. And I've done so many sessions now, I can tell you this. The people who are the fixers, the caretakers, the people pleasers, who have no boundaries and never say no, the people who always give in to what people told them they should do instead of doing what they wanted to do on the outside, unless they're someone who they are someone who has recognized that this was not serving them. That's the exception here. If they've recognized this is not serving them, then the anger and the irritation begins to come out. But for people who never allow that to express, and they believe it's part of their identity that this is what it means to be a good wife, this is what it means to be a good daughter, this is what it means to lead in my company, because men have this too. It's not just women. Society has changed. And whereas when I was younger, little girls were discouraged from expressing their feelings and their emotions and were made to feel guilty about it because it doesn't look pretty and it's not appropriate. And what will people think of you? Men are in the same, have been put into the same position. When it's in our identity that we're not a person who expresses that anger, we don't even realize it's there. It runs underneath the surface. It may come out as judgments. It may come out as a little bit of unhappiness, but the mind recognizes that it's not fair that you always give and give and give, and you don't do things from what you want. Now, I'm going to put a caveat here. We all have our dharma and our passion. And for some people, their dharma is to be the matriarch of the family who takes care of everything. Their dharma is to be the caretaker. That's literally what they came to do, which means they want to do it. They're not doing it because they believe that's the good and right thing that they're supposed to do. That is the caveat. When we have this running underneath the surface, this part of the mind that recognizes that this is unfair or is frustrated that you've never followed through on what's important to you, creates anger in the subconscious mind. Unfair is anger, and that anger does not have to come out. It doesn't have to come out for it to be there. Anger is more deadly than a type A personality. I need you to hear me say that. The study specifically said repressed anger is more deadly than a type A personality because of the way it activates the stress system in the brain. And we don't even realize that it's happening. So you can do directed one-on-one work to break the patterns of people pleasing and caretaking, and to set boundaries and to feel comfortable saying no to others and yes to yourself. It doesn't mean you don't care about others. It doesn't mean that you don't want anything to do with them. It means that you're putting boundaries around that so that you're first, so that there's some time for you. It's the number one regret of the dying, is not living their life the way they wanted to and instead falling into career and all of these things. So just think about that. And that's how one-on-one hypnosis can help with that. And then for people who have, chronic pain, or, there's trauma, or you're wanting hypnosis for surgery or a procedure, one-on-one is great for that too. There are people who specialize in that. I used to. I don't do one-on-one sessions around that anymore for pain and for surgery and that kind of thing, but I'm connected to people who do or who have trained with me. So if you're looking for that, reach out and I can get you some names of who to reach out to. But these are just some ways that hypnosis can help you with your longevity. Because going back to that last example specifically around anger, I have had clients that I've done one-on-one work with. I remember one lady several years ago completely blew my mind when the anger came out. And some of the things that she expressed didn't come up in the root cause work, but they were extremely, extremely traumatic when they happened. But now all she had was anger. She just needed to get her voice out there because she was never um, allowed to give voice to it and to stand up for herself and make that stuff fair, to make fair, to say, you did this to me. This was wrong. And you didn't protect me. And why didn't you? And all of these things. She was 10 years younger, easily, at the end of that session. She was 10 years younger. I it blows me away. It doesn't surprise me anymore, but it blows me away to see that change in a person in 90 minutes when it happens. So it's three ways. If you're doing the biohacking and you're cold plunging and using the grounding sheets and the grounding mats and all of the things, genetic protocols, and what people do with supplements and all that stuff. If you're doing all of that and you're meditating, but you're not using hypnosis, you're missing out. You're really, really missing out. I'll catch you next week.